Welcome to Voices of the Underground, hosted by Young Ty and Robert Geaux.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another brand new episode of Voices of the Underground EDM podcast, where we like to talk to up-and-coming DJs and producers we feel deserve more exposure. Like always, I am your host, Young Ty, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Robert Geaux. How's it going, buddy?
Cheers, man. No, it's going good. I'm happy to be healthy again. I got a little sick over our little break that we took for Ultra, but yeah, happy to be back in the saddle with you, talking to some great artists.
Yeah, it's been a while and people have been asking, but we are back and we're going to keep these episodes coming. And we have a very special guest in the building with us today. He's been on Revealed and many underground labels. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podcast, Franny J. How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. It's gonna be lit.
Oh yeah, dude. No, we're glad to have you on. Let's get right into it, man. How was we took a little break for Ultra here for us as the show goes, but you were at Ultra. You had some pretty good experiences there, man. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Ultra was I honestly can't say, I can't put it into words honestly, but it was amazing, and it's so cliche just saying something basic like that, but I've been wanting to go to Ultra since I first got into like EDM music in like 2010, 2011. And for years I was like, I want to go to Ultra, I want to go to Ultra. And the opportunity came back in 2020, pre-pandemic, when they announced that Revealed Recordings was going to host their 10-year anniversary stage, and that was perfect. So I ended up buying my ticket, I ended up booking an Airbnb, got my flight, and then the pandemic happened. And at that point, everything kind of went south, and I was just so disappointed. But luckily, Ultra was like, hey, if you bought a ticket to the 2020 edition, you can use it for the 2021 or 2022. And then 2021 rolls around, they cancel that one too. So then they're like, okay, you can use it for 2022 or 2023. And I was like, all right, fuck it. The lineup might not be the same, but I actually wasn't planning on going. I was just going to try to sell the ticket, but I realized it was just going to be a hassle, especially with getting the wristband and stuff like a week or two before the actual festival. I was like, it's going to be such a hassle. So I was like, fuck it, I'll go. Invited one of my friends and he was down to come. So ended up going. And yeah, like I said, it was an amazing experience. And it was the first time I met Young Ty. I met Chaotix. I met Taihei and DJ Guy. Was talking to them for a couple of years now, just through Discord and Instagram. So it was so cool to finally meet all these people that I was talking to online and actually getting to know them.
All guys we've had on the show, by the way, Ty. All
Yeah,
guys we've
yeah.
had on
Yep.
the show.
The
That
whole
is like the
squad.
as a who's who of VOTU right there. So yeah, you waited a long time. Was this the first time you went, right? That's what you were saying. This is your first
Yeah,
first time at Ultra, dude. You waited what 3 years essentially to get to this thing.
yeah.
And I saw so on Instagram your stories were very entertaining. I saw you had some fun things happen to you at the revealed night. You want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So as soon as I saw that Revealed Recordings was hosting a separate event, like I immediately bought a ticket. I was like, I don't care if it's $20, $50, $100, I'm going. And it was a pretty affordable show. I think it was like $20, and it was hosted in a city called Wynwood. It was like 15 minutes outside of downtown Miami, and it that area was really cool. It was very artsy. It really reminded me a lot of the kind of like the bar scene out here where I'm from in Arizona. There's an area called Old Town Scottsdale. It really reminded me of that area. And so at this event, they had like 10 plus revealed recording artists DJing. And you go to a revealed night, expecting to hear songs from revealed recordings, but I never expected my song that was released on the sub label to be played live. And the person that ended up playing it live was Mariana Bo. And the funny thing is, like, she's technically not a revealed artist. I don't think she's ever actually released on Revealed. She's released on Dharma, she's released on Spinnin', but I actually don't think she's released on Revealed now that I think
Dude,
about it.
hold on. So you get an A-lister, top 100 DJ in the moment. You're minding because you have no idea this is happening, right? So you're minding your own
Yeah.
business. You're having drinks. You're doing what you do at a nightclub. All right, and all of a sudden, you start to hear your song start to filter in. I mean, what is that like for you, man?
So yeah, no, before we get into that, the funny thing is the song that was played before mine was actually a song that I recognized as well. And you just start you hear the build up, and I was just like, wait a second, I know this song, and it's Gaspar and Nick
Right.
Hampson's "This Is How We Rave." And so as soon as I heard that, I got my phone out. I was like, I'm gonna get a video for Gaspar because I know he's gonna be stoked hearing this. And so I get a whole like minute and a half, 2 minutes of footage for him. And the crazy thing is, like, as I'm putting my phone away, like I sent off the text message. I was like, "Hey Gaspar, like they played your song, like enjoy." And he's like, "Oh, thanks, man, that's sick." And then as I'm putting my phone away, I just hear the build up to this other song, and I was just like, I was kind of like, like jamming out, and I was like, "Wait, why does this song sound familiar?" And then my friend next to me just grabs me. He's just like, "Bro, what the fuck?" And I was like, and that's when it hit. Like, it didn't even hit me until like 2 seconds later. I was like, "Wait, that's my song. What the fuck?" And the the build up starts playing, and then as soon as it drops, I was like, "No way!" Like I wasn't even moving. I was just like, "What is going on right now? This is
Yeah,
crazy."
because I remember being in the back of the crowd. You were in the front of the crowd, and
Yeah,
when I heard your song coming in, I was like, "We have to go find him." So we ran to the front to come find you.
yeah. No, and it was no, but it was insane because like I said, I wasn't expecting my song to be played, and it's just I'm just thinking back to that moment, and it's still like such an awesome feeling. And keep in mind, this was a sold out event, so that place was packed too.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. And then I figured she was just gonna play the first drop and then mix it into another song or something, but she actually ended up playing the full break, and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" And like me and like a couple of other people were like the only people singing the lyrics, and but it was the funniest thing was like as soon as the song first like played, we were freaking out, and like the audience around us were like, "Why are these guys going so hard to this song?" And then like that, but the funny thing is that energy kind of like, they were feeding off of that energy, so everyone else was getting hyped.
Yeah, they're looking
And
at you guys like, well, this motherfucker's like, then I should probably like this. And
yeah,
all of a
yeah,
sudden,
exactly.
I know because that's what I'm saying. I saw the video and people were getting lit. I
Yeah,
was like, yo, I didn't
yeah,
know
no,
that.
it was sick.
And it
Yeah.
worked live too.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy thing. When I saw people, jumping up and down, dancing and stuff, I was like, damn, like I made that, I helped make that song, and people are loving it, and it's just and as a producer, that's everyone's dream, hearing your stuff being played by bigger DJs, producers, and it happened at a very, you know, crazy sold out show. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, that weekend was full of our friends' songs being played on the main stage at Ultra, at Revealed
Yeah.
Night, and all that. I remember Ty Hayes' track was played on the main stage by Mike
Yeah,
Chris.
by Mike Chris. Mike Chris, cool dude, by the way.
Yeah,
Super
real
cool guy.
nice.
We ended up running into him, I think day two after the festival. He was just chilling on the street. And at that point, it was me, my friend, and DJ Guy. And we're just walking, trying to get an Uber. And DJ Guy just casually was like, "Oh, hey, look, it's Mike Chris over there." And I was like, "No, it's not." I was like, "Oh, shit, it is." And we just go up to him. We're like, "Yo, you killed your set, man. You played one of our friends' songs." And he's just like, "Yo, I'll see you guys around." And yeah, he was a super cool dude. DM'd him on Instagram. He like replies. He ended up sending us like free merch and stuff recently. It was sick.
Whoa. Wait, you guys got that? Because I remember, Ty, you were talking about like a hat or something that you'd given to somebody. He came through on that?
Yeah, so long story short, I got a hat in the crowd for Ultra. I gave it to somebody else because they really wanted it. And yeah, hit him up about it, and he sent two hats. I'm looking at them now.
What? No, can we see those? Can we see these hats? I want to give a shout out. No,
Yeah,
because
shout
it's
out
cool,
Mike
man.
Chris.
Yeah, because it's so cool. Not only did he support the underground artist, right? There's the Zell EMKR track, certainly. There was Ty Hayes, but just kind of connecting, and we always talk about it, right? Main stage guys connecting with underground and that kind of that filtration system. Oh, there they are. Look at those buttes. Mike, Chris, if you're watching, look at that. That's nice. Way to come through, man. And what'd you
Franny
get?
got some too.
Wait, you sent you something, Franny?
Yeah, I got the same exact hats as well.
Damn, man, I missed that Instagram post.
But you got to realize too, like at Ultra and Reveal Night and all that, everybody who's anybody was walking through those doors. I mean, we
Yeah,
were standing in the back, and Jeffrey Sartorius comes walking by, Mike Williams comes walking by, Morton, so on and so forth.
a
So
bunch of people.
that's how you network with these people.
And that's one thing I forgot to mention where so after witnessing Mariana Bo play that song, I was on cloud nine, man. Like it felt so crazy. As soon as I posted it on Instagram, I had people like texting me like, dude, that's so sick, congrats, and like all this stuff, right? I had people joking around like, dude, are you famous now? Like, what does that mean? I was like, no, it doesn't mean anything except like it's a
Hey,
huge
you
accomplishment for me, like I
hold on.
feel
You could put supported by in your
that's true.
SoundCloud. That is fucking priceless.
Yeah. I got that. I think I did that as soon as it happened. I was like
Oh,
SoundCloud,
I would have done it
Spotify.
in real time. I would have stopped filming. Hold on, officially supported by. No, I mean, but yeah, because then you ran into her, right? Because you took some
Yeah,
pictures.
so after her set, I forgot who played after her, but me and my friend and everyone else in the group, we ended up deciding to go away from the crowd and just kind of chill towards the back. And the way this bar was set up, the entrance and the exit was the same like area, right? So people were walking in and out of the same like kind of path. And yeah, and then we were just chilling in the back, and I see Ortsy, who is one of the A&Rs for Revealed Recordings, walking with Mariana, and um, as they're walking by, I just quickly start a conversation with Ortsy, just saying like, hey, I'm Franny J. Thanks so much for believing in this track and ultimately signing it to the sub label. And then I was talking to Mariana, and so she's for those that don't know, she's from Mexico, and so I speak Spanish. So I was like, I feel like it's going to be easier just starting a conversation in Spanish. And so in Spanish, I just go up to her. I'm just like, hey, Mariana, like, I just want to say, first of all, I'm Franny J. You just played my song. I flew here from Arizona to attend Ultra Music Festival. Did not expect any of this, and I just wanted to say like thanks so much. Like it's weird because like I was a bit starstruck in a way, and I feel like that's not kind of like the person I am, but like just that emotion that was like carried over from the set. I was just like, whoa, like thank you so much.
Well,
And
dude,
yeah, we
she has a presence. She has a look. You know what I mean? Like she
yeah
has a look, and I don't want to get too Me Too movement here, but she's easy on the eye, right? Like I mean, that's fair
yeah
to say. So to see that kind of like you said glow in person, I think
yeah
that
no
too.
totally, and yeah no she was super cool, super nice. Said all this stuff about the song. Like she was like, yeah, it's a great track, like definitely keep it up. And yeah, so we just talked for a bit, and then I didn't want to keep her there like the whole night, obviously. So I was just like, yeah, is it cool if I just get a quick picture with you? And she's like, yeah, of course. So my friend ended up taking the picture. And that whole night, honestly, I could have gotten pictures with so many other people, but at that point, like all I cared about was like just getting that picture with Mariana since she played my song. But I could have gotten a picture with Jeffrey Sartorius, Mark Sixma was there, yeah, like Mike Williams. But it was revealed night itself, crazy. Honestly, it was amazing. Yeah, no, same here. I mean, I'm a little biased, but it was definitely my favorite part of the whole trip for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows you the reach that Revealed has, right? I mean, they're getting artists that aren't necessarily in house, if you will, guys that aren't necessarily releasing on there consistently to come in and play,
Yeah,
at
Or
their
just to
night,
hang
which
out.
yeah, exactly. No, it's really cool, man. And so I know people are watching. Okay, now this has been a focus for us. But how did it get played? Did you send it to her at all? Did
no,
you send it
no,
out? How did so? It was just straight her finding the track,
yeah.
digging the track, buying the track.
I mean, I'm assuming it's a revealed event, and because of the fact that she wasn't a revealed artist, the only thing that came to my mind was maybe the revealed team kind of maybe asked her like, hey, play out a few songs from like our recent releases. And at that point, I'm assuming, she went through all the releases and was just like, okay, I'm gonna pick these ones. So the fact that my track was picked, that's huge. Like I mentioned, it's awesome. But yeah, I didn't send anything. I didn't do anything. I just showed up, and heard it.
So for people watching this track, if they're not familiar with it, Never Turning Back, right? And that's the title of the track, Never Turning Back. And who's the vocalist on it again?
It's LV, and it's a collaboration with another American-based producer named Joseph Crawford. He's based out of Dallas, I believe, Texas. And I guess we could kind of go into the history of that track because it does have quite a bit of history.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because I mean, obviously the numbers are fantastic. It's still doing extremely well on Spotify. Last check, it was over 180,000, right? So that's huge. It was released on Revealed Radar, correct?
Revealed Radar
All right.
on January 21st, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into the backstory of this track and how it's doing so well.
Well, so this song, oh man, it's been all over the place. The original idea came from Joseph Crawford. I discovered him through SoundCloud like mid to late 2017. One day I was just on SoundCloud and one of his songs came on, and it was more of like a trancey kind of song, but it also had some like progressive house elements to it. And I never heard anything like it at the time. So I was just like, whoa, this is actually really cool. And I look him up on Instagram and see that he's from Texas. And everyone knows, how progressive house and big room, isn't very big out here in the States. So seeing a producer that makes that based in the US is awesome. So you want to connect with them because we're a small group if you really think about it. There's not a lot of us out here doing this. And so we just started talking, and he was just like, yeah, I have this big room track where the break is kind of it's lacking something. And I was just telling him, I was like, I would love to hear it. Maybe I can like offer some feedback or something. And he sends me the song, and the intro, build up, the drop was sounding pretty good. And then the break happens. I was like, okay, no, I totally see why he needs some help on this. And then I just asked him straight up. I was like, hey, is it cool if I come up with something? Like, would you want to collab on this? And he's just like, yeah, dude, honestly, let's do it. And I was like, all right, cool. So he also works in Ableton, so he sent me the project file.
Hey,
And
wait. He works in what?
he works in Ableton.
Oh, let's go. Hey, just because we've been on break time, don't you think that I'm going to let that slide now? Because we got a couple of talented Ableton guys here again. We're back on the board. We did it. We had FL guys the last, I think, 3 guests.
Yeah.
It was Ollie James and those boys. Glad to see Ableton back on the board.
So he sends me this project file, and I completely like gut the whole song, right? I take out his synths, I take out a lot of the drums. The melody has been the same with a few minor revisions here and there, but all I really did was I just gutted the whole project and added my own drums to it, added my own synths to it to give it a little more power. Because the song that Joseph sent me kind of, and if you listen to the melody, it does have that kind of old school big room kind of vibe. And the original synths that he used did sound like, the older 2016, 2017 sound. Whereas at the time we were going into 2018 working on this song, and I was like, I feel like these synths don't work. Like the sound selection definitely needs to be different. Yeah, and so at that point I was working on a different song, and so um, I figured, I was like, let me just try these leads over here and see if they fit. And yeah, they sounded great. And the original version though didn't have vocals. It was just a breakdown. It had like a super saw like hands up kind of moment. And then the more I kept listening to it, I was just like, this sounds just like every other big room song out right now. It's like, what can we do different? And I was like, instead of having 2 breaks, let's just have a single break and maybe try to get a vocalist on here. And so changed up the whole break, sent it to him. He was just like, yeah, that sounds cool. Who can we get? And I was trying to reach out to like local vocalists and stuff, and no one really had the time, or no one really took it seriously. And um, it was just hard. That song got like stuck in limbo for like a whole year and a half because we didn't know what to do with it.
So
And
this idea then it dates back a little bit. So this is
yeah,
on ice.
yeah, it was like I mentioned, I think the idea started like, I mean, I don't know when Joseph started the idea, but I got it in like early 2018. And there was a time like 2019, I feel like was a point where I kind of stepped back from music just for a bit. and I didn't get back into it like late 2019. And then obviously the pandemic happened. I wasn't really making much music during the first couple of lockdowns and stuff because I just wasn't there mentally. I didn't want to really work on music. But then the second half of the pandemic, that's where I picked things up again. And then I think it was during the summer of the pandemic where I follow LV on Instagram, and she posted a story saying, she was like struggling with some like financial stuff, and she said she was running a sale on her vocals. And I sent that story to Joseph, and I was like, hey, like, what do you think of this? Like, would you be down to split getting vocals from her? And he was on board. Like, as soon as I mentioned who it was, he was just like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's hope it's affordable for us, where it's not anything crazy. And so I just DM'd her, and she said, yeah, email me here. Emailed her, she got back to me. She was just like, I want to listen to the idea that you guys have. Sent the song over to her. It was the rough unmixed version, and she really liked it. And she was just like, I have something, like, I already have melodies in my head that I'm gonna write about and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, that's awesome. And then um, the price point, was something where once it was split in half was doable for me and Joseph. So we went ahead and did it, and it was it was weird because it took her a while to get to the vocals as well, because she had some other projects like that were a priority. And the crazy thing was, I think maybe it took her like 3 or 4 months, because it was in the summer when we hired her, and I believe it was like October once we got the vocals, and this is still 2020. And once we got the vocals back, I changed up some stuff in the break and finally added in the vocals, did some quick processing on them, and we just kept sending the idea back and forth for feedback to people. And once we got enough feedback where everyone was just like, yeah, this sounds solid, just work on the mixing and mastering and you're good to go. Um, we were kind of we weren't sure where we were going to send it at first, honestly, but
Well,
we did.
that's my question to a lot of artists. Let me ask you this: when you get it back, and you mix it down, you master it, you're just about to send it out. Did you know? Did you honestly? I know we all have confidence in our work, but did you know? Did you sit there and say, yeah, you know what? This is a 200,000 stream track right here, right off the rip. Did
No,
you
and
know?
that's the thing. I've listened to this song so many times before it came out that I low key was kind of just sick and tired of hearing it. I was just like, dude, I've heard this song over 1,000 times. Like, I just want this song out. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to work on it anymore. I'm done. And but so the way it ended up getting signed was actually, so LV's manager is actually her dad. His name's Craig. And Craig just happens to have a lot of connections, out there in the industry. And so once we finally got a final product, we ended up sending the song to Severman, who mixed and mastered the track. And I mean, he did a phenomenal job. And once we got the final render, we sent it to Craig, and Craig, he loved it, despite, because I heard from other people that Craig's not really into big room. He's more into like trance and stuff for LV. And so when I heard that we were probably going to struggle, signing the song, I was, that, but that's another thing, you shouldn't care what people are saying about it. It's your song, you do whatever you want with it. And so we sent it to Craig. Craig loved it, and he just casually says, like, is it cool if I send it to Maximize and Armada? And me and Joseph were like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, we're not gonna be mad, like, go for it.
No, that sounds awful, Craig.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't want to be on Maximize. but the cool, so unfortunately, I don't think Maximize ever replied after about like 3 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, we did get a reply from Armada, and essentially they said that they love the track, but they're just not releasing Big Room right now. But getting that validation from Armada, just them saying like, hey, this is a great track, but it's not our style at the moment, was a huge confidence booster. And then at that point, we felt like, okay, we can probably reach one of these other bigger labels. And then at that point, I don't think Craig even told us that he sent it to Revealed. That was the funny thing, because me and Joseph were talking on the side. We were just like, hey, maybe we should send it to Revealed. And I was just like, yeah, let's just wait a couple weeks to see what Craig says. And then a couple weeks later, Craig comes back and he's just like, hey, good news, Revealed wants to sign it. Now at that point, he just said Revealed, right? He didn't say Revealed Radar. So I'm over here thinking, and Joseph as well, we're like, dude, Revealed wants to sign it. Like we're gonna be on the main label. That's crazy if that's what Craig meant. And so then we get the contracts finally and all this stuff. And then I see that it says Revealed Radar. I don't care, like Revealed is revealed in my opinion. And so I'm the kind of person that doesn't really get excited about something until it like happens. So even though I signed the contract and all that, like part of me was just thinking like, oh, what if something goes wrong and like they void the contract or something. And I didn't get excited until release day. Like, well, I was hyping it up a few weeks before release day, posting, like finally made it to Revealed, this kind of stuff. And as soon as the release date came, that's when like I was all over the place. I was so
Yeah, it was
happy.
real.
Honestly, it's
Yeah, it
crazy.
was
Yeah, it's like
real.
okay, this happened. Something that I worked on made it to a dream label. If you were to tell 14-year-old me that you'd eventually get to Revealed Recordings, even if it's the sub label, like I would not believe it. And it was sick. It was awesome. But yeah, that song essentially it was like a 2.5 year progress thing, and that's like honestly the longest song that I've spent so much time on, just going back and forth with a lot of things.
Dude, I've had marriages that did not take as long as that fucking song did to get out there and get released. But no, you touched on something. I want to talk about it. I think it's a really good subject for us to talk about for our listeners. You had Severman mix and master it. Now,
Yeah.
it depends on who you talk to in this underground industry. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. Some people consider it cheating. Some people think that's what you should do. I want to offer up my personal take, and I want to pick both of your brains on this,
Yeah, sure.
especially for the people listening. I think if you look at any major artist, your Drakes, your Taylor Swift, most anybody in the music industry, there is mix engineers, there is mastering engineers. Those are separate entities, right? There's all of these people that work on these songs, and for some reason in EDM, that's a little bit on the taboo side to have somebody mix down your track or master your track. And I to this moment, as I speak about it, I haven't quite figured out as to why, being that these are like literally things that you go to school for. These are industries. These are, their jobs, their trades. So, I mean, what's your take on that? Because you're one of the few people I know in the underground scene that does use a mix and master engineer.
So for me, obviously, since I do it, I don't see anything wrong with it because, like you said, I tend to look at it as a whole with like other genres. Like you mentioned, your big rap stars, they have their own producers, but even those producers themselves don't really engineer the beats. They send it off to like in I know for a fact in the hip hop world, one of the engineers, his name's Mike Dean. He does a lot of these people's mixing and mastering, and he doesn't necessarily produce them, but I mean there's nothing wrong with it. And for me, the reason I use someone for mixing and mastering is because I'd rather use my free time to make a new song rather than tweaking everything here and there to get the mix down sounding right. I just it's like I could have the patience for it, but I just don't want to. But that's just me. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having someone mix and master your song. Because for me, like it's actually crazy when I do send my music to Severman. I'll send him like a rough mix down that I worked on, and I essentially just say like, okay, here's like my vision of this song. Now you go ahead and do whatever you think is best to make it sound even better. And so for example, with Never Turning Back, the leads sounded pretty powerful already in a rough version, but then he just made them sound even better. And I was like, I have no idea how he did that, but like for me to have done that, it probably would have taken me like months to get it sounding right. So I don't have an issue with that.
Well, and isn't the goal when you release a track? I think we can all agree, whichever side of the fence you're on this issue, and you're as a real producer, isn't the goal to have that track reach its full potential, to have
Yeah.
its absolute very best, so when it lives on in existence, right? Because this thing goes out and it gets distributed and it's always out there forever. Isn't that really the main idea, is to have it sounding as professional as possible?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and mixing engineers win Grammys for that kind of stuff. And then in the EDM world, though, that's something that I do notice as you start getting bigger. Like you look at artists like Dylan Francis, Diplo, Steve Aoki. They have their own mixing and mastering engineers now
Right.
too, because they're so busy with touring that they don't have time to mix and master their stuff anymore. They're like, you know what, I'm gonna hand this off to someone I trust. And that's another thing. Like I've gone through a lot of people that have mixed and mastered my stuff, and then right now, honestly, like I feel very comfortable with only sending my stuff to Severman because I mean, he's a very talented producer to begin with. His YouTube channel is full of like great tutorials for up and coming people, and I just think it's crazy how on top of his production stuff, his tutorials that he uploads, he still has time to mix and master like other people's music, and that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, he's a talented dude, man. I have seen some of the stuff he's doing on YouTube and stuff. So no, I agree. I just liken it to sports, just to kind of put this to bed. It's like the quarterback, you have positions for a reason, very specific positions, because each guy does his job. Whether if you're a football guy or soccer or football guy overseas, Ronaldo is not a goalkeeper and a striker. Like that's not how it works. Like he's not all over the field. It's a team, and I think that's how the best organizations are ran, is when everybody does their job to their absolute full potential, and it's a very specific job at that.
Yeah. Like even if you go back to when some of these bigger artists were exposed as having ghost producers, every like this was like what, like 2014 when a lot of people found out like, oh wow, like Tiesto doesn't even make his music anymore, and people were like freaking out about that. But then like Armin van Buuren has been doing that. It's him and some other guy, and it's just like essentially they just pick someone to be the face of that project too. And I mean, look at bass jackers. Like one of the guys just does the production, and then the other guy is the DJ. He doesn't have really. I mean, I don't know if he has a hand in the production, but
And Jeffrey Sartorius was the face of Dash Berlin back in the day
yeah,
too.
And it works, right? Like it works, and I think that's how you talk about reaching its full potential, is that's how the bigger guys are getting all of these things done, is because they're not sitting there trying to roll off some of the thing. They're not trying to worry about their reverb sends and things like that, and but they can articulate it. They can probably show you how to do it, but the tedious work is they're delegating, right? Any good organization, you're going to delegate. And when you look at Stevie Aoki and these boys, that's a corporation. That's the corporation of Stevie. That's the corporation of Alan Walker. That's what that is, and that's how they're doing, 7-8 figures a year in net revenue.
It takes a team.
It does. It really does, man. And I'm glad you talked about that, because I've come a long way on that. Right when I got started, I was going to be the be all end all guy, and as I've kind of gone down the line, I'm way more open now after our conversations about mixing and mastering. If I can, especially if it can get me on to the next idea and then continue to keep the ball rolling, that's something I
exactly.
definitely want to look into. You've changed my mind quite a bit on that.
Yeah, no, for me, just like I said, to touch on it again, it's just I want to focus my time on creating more ideas, new songs, new work in progresses, and all that. And it just, I don't know, for my workflow, the way I go about making music, it just works because I think outside of Discord, one time you and I, Rob, were talking about how like when I start a song, like I don't really throw any effects on like any of my synths or anything. Like everything's dry 100%, because the way I go about it is like there's a certain vision and there's a certain sound I can hear when I'm like making a song, how I want it to sound in the end. So while I'm working on a song, everything sounds dry. So if I ever send a song for feedback and it's just dry, everyone's going to tell me things that I'm already going to worry about at the end, like, oh, it needs reverb, oh, it needs sidechain. It's like, dude, no, I know, but like what about the melody itself? Like, does this sound good? And so like the way I think about it is, if it sounds good dry, like it's gonna only sound better with like all the effects. So that's how I kind of go about it. I know some people mix in mono as well, and they're like, if it sounds good in mono, it's gonna sound good in stereo. So that's kind of like the same idea, except I just don't use effects in the beginning.
So that's like your workflow then, right? Getting the ideas down. I like that because it's like you're spending more time on the melody, which at the end of the day, right? That's what hooks people onto these songs. Nobody sits
Exactly.
there and says, "Wow, man, it did not roll off the low end on those synths." Like it's no, but it really is the melody that hooks you in and captures you, and it makes the song a little more on the memorable side. So yeah, that is your focal point, not worrying about the other stuff. That actually might be a really good tip for some of the guys watching because you know that's we spend a lot of time on trying to make these things bigger, these synths sound bigger, especially if you're in big room. You might want to spend a little more time on that melody, and if you can have the resources to have it mixed and mastered, that might not be a bad call.
Yeah, so there are pros and cons to the way I go about a song, because I do know some people, they kind of get discouraged as they're producing a song, and if the synth doesn't sound the way that they expected it to, they're kind of like, oh, like this song's just gonna bomb. But
Yeah,
that might not be the case.
you
That might
described
not
my
be the
whole
case.
year. You described my whole fucking year right there. Like, I can't. It's not enough Camel Crusher. It just isn't working. In reality,
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, okay.
But I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. Like, some people should give it a try, see if it helps out.
So let's change the pace a little bit. Why did you start with progressive, or what did you start with back in the day and get to where you're at now?
So quick backstory, I've been really messing around with production since like 2010, but it wasn't until like 2017, 2018 where I actually started focusing on it a bit more. And even back then, I was always inspired by early Hardwell, early Afrojack, early Dead Mouse. And I mean, if you go on my Spotify, some of these like first songs that I like put out where I was like, yo, this is it. This is it. I go back and listen to them. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's actually interesting because if you actually listen to some of those songs, like, I was trying so hard to be different where, like, I take some elements from whatever genre was popular at that time and kind of mixed it into it. Like, there's some like electro house elements in some of the stuff, but like at the end of the day, I can't categorize it into anything but like an electronic dance music track. And um it was just, I don't know, but I've always been into big room and progressive house. Those were like the main two genres that I always liked, and really like seeing the evolution of it. As to why I started producing progressive house, like, I always messed around with it. I've always had ideas that I just never really finalized back in the day when I was just focusing on big room. But recently, progressive house melodies just come a little easier to me, but at the same time, like I mentioned, the first half of the pandemic, I just, felt kind of down all the time. And I wanted to make something that kind of like lifted me up, as cliche as that sounds. Like, that second half of the pandemic, that's when I started making more progressive house tracks. And I really enjoyed doing it. I didn't feel forced, because I got to a point where when I was producing Big Room, I had to like force myself to make some of these songs, and I wasn't really having fun with it anymore. I was just kind of like making it to make something. And then as soon as I like switched over to progressive house, uh, it just felt so much easier. And that additional element of like reaching out to a vocalist to have some sort of idea to bring the song to life is just so cool to me. How I send an instrumental, send it to a vocalist, they listen to it, they write some lyrics, they sing, they send it back, and I'm like, whoa, like, we just made some magic here. Like, it's crazy.
See, okay. This was in my notes. This is what I really wanted to talk about with you because I think for underground guys, you're probably one of the best, if not the best, as far as making the vocals and the track work together hand in hand. You can tell some tracks were made and then they'll jam in a splice vocal and then, and that's fine. That's fine, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what it's there for. Um and splice, has a purpose in this world, of course, but I'm always fascinated how you get your vocals original. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like that's the
Yeah,
hallmark of
sure.
like all your productions.
So with the beginning stuff, I was lucky at the time. I used to work with this guy. and he was in like metal bands and stuff, and so he plays the guitar and bass, and he started dating this girl. And one day they just came over. They're like, "Hey, would you be able to produce like stuff for us that isn't EDM?" So I kind of work on this project with them, and we make like kind of pop sounding music. And at the same time, when I was recording her, this was the first time I ever listened to her sing, and I was just like, "Damn, like she's actually really amazing." Her name's Christian Akamo, and I've released a few songs with her already, and we have a few more on the way. And it was just cool, having someone that you know personally willing to sing on your music. And at first, like every ID that I had, I just would send it to her just because she was available, right? And then after a while, I was just like, I don't want, like, as great as she is, like, don't get me wrong, like I love working with her, but it's just like I kind of want to mix it up, with my vocals. I don't want to have the same vocalist on every single song I release. And then so at that point, I was like just trying to reach out to even people that I went to like high school with, that I knew that they kind of like sang at one point. But once it came down to actually writing lyrics and singing on a song, some people weren't really comfortable, or like they just didn't feel confident enough. And I was like, "Hey, don't worry about it. That's completely fine. Thanks for like at least like taking a listen." And then after a while, I was like, because that's honestly the hardest thing for up and coming progressive house producers, is finding vocals, because some of these vocalists that everyone wants, they're just really expensive. And like if you're not working a job or something and you can't afford it, like I get why people are using splice vocals, and it's like the same ones over and over. Like there's nothing wrong with it, but after you hear that same vocal in every single key, it's like, okay, like someone needs to like spice it up somehow. But I honestly recommend Fiverr a lot, because there's some hidden gems on there for like $100, $110. Like there's some great vocalists on
Dude,
there.
wait, hold on. First of all, Ty, have you ever used Fiverr before, bro?
Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
Oh man, dude, if you've been in our Discord, okay, that's a whole nother story. Ty got some artwork for the show done. I posted in our Discord. I'm fairly certain my son in kindergarten could make something better than that. But no, hey, that's neither here nor there. But no, Fiverr does have its good purposes. But you're saying $100, $110 for you know how much vocals cost if you approach a vocalist like on Instagram or something? A hell of a lot more than that.
It's like, yeah, depending on who you ask. Like I know Ellie, or Elle, she, when she doesn't have sales, like I'm pretty sure like minimum like 2K for like a
Yeah,
vocal. And
I
I
mean
mean,
she's a made
rightfully
artist.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's worked with people like Excision, in other genres of EDM. She's worked with a lot of great people. So I mean, that's, yeah, no, yeah, 2K is a steal if you think of it from that perspective. But I mean, obviously, an up and coming producer might not have $2,000 to just throw around. But yeah, I mean, Fiverr is full of great resources if you know how to like look for them, right? Because a lot of people, they sign up as like a singer songwriter on there, but then there's different tiers to their, what do they call them, gigs. So if you order the basic one, it'll be like, oh, I'll only sing for like 15 seconds. So it's like, okay, this person's charging 200 for 15 seconds of vocals. Obviously, that's not effective at all. But yeah, and then recently it's just been like, for like during the pandemic, like, so I actually signed up for like those dating apps like Bumble, Tinder, and all that. But I wasn't on there
I
trying to
didn't
get
think we were
dates.
going there. All right, hey, hold on, let
No,
me get my
so
phone out here.
no, so like I signed up because I was like, I guarantee you there's some girls on there that have like singer songwriter in their bios, and then they'll have like their Instagram on their bios. So
Bro,
I was just
I got it,
at a point where
Franny. I want to believe you,
no,
and I
no.
think, I think I speak for everybody who's listening at the moment. I'm not entirely sure you signed up for Tinder for looking for vocal.
No, dude, I kid you not. I know it's a little left field, but I was at a point where like, because I was just trying to discover, like local artists, that could sing on my song. And the funny thing is, I would see some people with like singer-songwriter, vocalist in their bios, and I would reach out to them on Instagram, just send them a DM, send them like an idea that I had, and like for every like 10 people that I would message, like maybe one would reply back. And so I mean, it didn't work. It didn't work. So I was just like, all right, like everyone's thinking, everyone's thinking I want something else, but I gave it a shot.
Franny will keep a secret, if you know what I mean.
That's wild. That's wild as fuck to me, dude. Hey,
But it's like, but I mean, it's like what I was trying to accomplish was like, I just wanted to put some spotlight on into like the local scene,
yeah,
but
totally.
nobody
Totally, yeah.
wanted to work. So I was like, all right, whatever.
I wouldn't mind shining the light in my local scene. Look, it's that what though? It's funny. We're obviously like laughing, having a good time with it. But I'm telling you what, man, when you're in this business, you're trying to think of anything you can to
Yeah,
make
straight
it
up.
work, right? Like different ways. And it's funny because I guess you can't narrow it down to zip code in your area and your radius of artists because you've recorded a lot of vocals. You've recorded a lot of vocals at your house. I remember we were talking about it off camera. You got a little studio thing happening over there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's a simple setup. It's just like right now where I'm at is like at my like, recording desk, my production desk, and then off to the right, I have this closet with the sliding doors, and the whole closet is just filled with, the the foam stuff, and there's just a mic in there. And I mean, to anyone that has listened to the songs that I've released, all the vocals besides a few have been recorded here. And that's the thing, like it doesn't matter as long as you have some form of sound treatment, like it gets the job done. Because what matters is the post processing on the vocals. And again, Severman does a great job with those, bedroom vocals, and he just makes them sound like they were recorded at, you know, some big ass studio or something.
Yeah. No, I was taken back by that because it's very clean. Your work, your vocals, and so forth. And I was surprised. I was surprised it was recorded and laid down at your place, at your studio there.
Yeah, I forget what mic I have, but it's like a $250. I think it's an AKG something. I don't know. It was some mic that I found on a list that was like best like budget mic. So I was like, let's give it a try. And yeah, it sounds great.
So you have people come over there and throw down vocals, and like in your area, or because you work with somebody there, right?
Yeah. It's Christian Akamo. She's the one that comes over and we work on her project. And recently, almost a year ago, I met this other vocalist, Lindsay Gress, who I just released a song with, and we have another one coming out
Yes,
soon.
I
And
like her. Like she has
no,
got
yeah,
really. She's talented.
yeah, no, honestly, everyone I work with is amazing in their own way. One thing I really admire about Christian is when I send her an idea, she just goes in the booth and just starts humming a vocal melody, just kind of gibberish, right? She'll just be like, "Na, na, da, 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 da," like stuff like that. And then she'll listen to it for like a week. She'll come back next week and has words where that gibberish was, and she just like goes for it. Like, and then if she likes it, then she'll write it down, and then she like, polishes it up a bit. But I don't know, that shit's so fascinating to me. People making words to like a melody. And then Lindsay, she has I'd say she has more of like a softer voice. But when I first heard her sing, I was just like, I totally know what song I want you to work on. So like I sent her a few ideas and she really liked one of them over the other. And yeah, she came over a few times. We recorded the song. And I've in the past I have had other people try to record music, right? And you can tell when someone is actually serious about even like singing, because if someone's kind of shy, even though it's like their first time around you, like that's expected. But like if you're hired, or just if you're told to like do what you want to do, and you're kind of nervous about it, it's like, okay, you're being nervous in front of one person. How are you going to do when you're performing in front of like 500 people? You can't have that. But in the past, I tried to record some people and they just never came back. And it's all good. Everyone has their comfort zone. And maybe at one point they get over it, but at the time I was like, I need some vocals like right now, not in like 2 years.
Yeah, so you've gone through some artists and so forth, and
Yeah,
that's how you found Lindsay. Yeah, no, man, that's what I wanted to talk about for sure, because we've talked about it, Ty, right, on this show in the past. Having vocals to your track, whether it's a big room tune, if it's a progressive tune, obviously brings that thing to life. And I always talk about this, like, how can I get listeners outside of the EDM world to hear my track,
I was
right?
just
And
gonna
it's
say
and it's a
that.
big struggle. Yeah, it's a big struggle for underground guys, right, Ty? I mean, we
yeah,
went through it, but having vocals, I think, is that bridge to like really hooking them in and having them
definitely.
connect with that track.
Because to me, when I explain what progressive house is to people that don't listen to EDM, I kind of liken it to, it's essentially a pop song with like a EDM drop. Because most of those breaks, if you just play a break of a progressive house song, it's very pop oriented. And I've started seeing a trend with a lot of these newer releases where they incorporate like live drums into their breaks, so it kind of gives it like an indie pop, like indie rock kind of vibe as well, and I really like that. It's cool. Like on my latest release, Finally Living, I decided to go for like a R&B trap soul kind of vibe on the second break. You got the 808s hitting and all this stuff, and it worked. And that's what I think is cool about progressive house. Like the drops, say what you want to say about them, they all have their specific sound, but it's the breaks where you can kind of shine to do something different.
See, yeah, and okay, so let's back up here a little bit. Uncle Rob's had some choice words about progressive house drops in the underground scene, and and I'll own that. Um, I have said that a lot of the same synths with some of the similar melodies come off as the same. But what I will say about progressive is you're right. It's the break. It really hooks me in. I'm not the biggest progressive guy. I'm not a progressive hater. I'm somewhere right in the middle. For me, it is the vocals and the breaks that make me want to hear the tune. The drops, though, are similar in nature. How do you, okay, now thinking forward, what are you going to do to kind of change that? Because I'm not the only guy saying this shit. A lot of folks
Yeah.
are with that. So, what are some ideas that you can do to kind of change that perception? Because I felt like if the drops get a little less cheesy and a little different than the typical mold, progressive tracks would be, monster tunes.
So for me, when I go about a progressive house song, the main thing I focus on, besides the emotion, like the second thing is obviously energy. It's like, how can I make this, uplifting melody a bit more energetic, a bit more dancey? And I feel like that's where, at least I'd like to think, like my progressive house stuff is a bit more energetic than your typical progressive house song. But the thing is, when you try to be somewhat different with your leads, because like I've had songs that I've sent to labels and they just get flat out rejected because they're like, I see what you're trying to do, but like it doesn't sound, or it's just something that they're not used to yet. And it's like at that point, it's just like, do I keep going for this sound, or do I kind of just try to take a step back and use kind of the similar sounding synths that everyone else is using? But like something that I do a lot is I like in like the B part of the drop, like the second half of the drop, I like using pitch bends a lot, like really subtle ones to kind of give it a little more bounce. And so I feel like um, that's like one way that I'm trying to make my lead sound just a tiny bit more unique. Um, but there is this trend right now where the lead sounds so thin, and the bass line isn't even cutting through that well, but like it's very polished. Don't get me wrong, it sounds great, but like I feel like even if they just layered in one more synth that took care of those mid frequencies, it would sound 10 times better. And that's something that like I want to like that I focus on when I'm making my songs. I want to fill up that specific frequency range because like you said, everything kind of sounds thin. It's like, how can we make it sound better? And that's kind of what I want to focus on with these new releases that I'm working on.
Now, when you went to Ultra, kind of dialing back to that, did you hear a lot of progressive? And I guess let me piggyback another question on you for that. Do you see a long-term future for progressive? Do you think that genre is going to be in good hands?
I think it's similar to Big Room, like people think it died. It's never really died, depending on who you ask nowadays. But I think the thing with progressive is, if you look at a mainstream big artist right now that's still playing that kind of stuff, is it's Alesso. He's still, he's getting booked for all of these big festivals, Tomorrowland, Ultra, EDC, and I was at Ultra. I was at the Stamped record stage, and Matisse and Sadko were playing. Dub Vision played. They're big, progressive house heavy hitters, and their sets honestly were amazing. It's Despite having these similar synths, it's the stuff that they mix, or like, they might use an acapella from like a popular pop song, and that's why I like progressive, because you can take out your original vocal, play the instrumental, and just throw on a different popular tune, and it just sounds so good. I think one thing I recently figured out is, if you take like a progressive house chord progression or something, and you speed it up to about like 140, 150, and you make like a melodic dubstep song, or like a future bass song, it's like the same thing. So you can kind of like experiment into more melodic genres, like future bass or melodic dubstep.
No, there's
I
some parallels there. I
Yeah, no,
agree.
there's a lot of parallels, and it was funny because one time I was just messing around, and I just like changed the tempo of one of my songs, and kind of changed the note length of my chords, and just added like a typical dubstep beat to it, and it was like a melodic dubstep song. I was like, whoa, this is actually kind of sick. But um as far as like where progressive is going, I don't think it's really going anywhere. There's a huge demand for it, with not only underground labels, but the main labels. They're still releasing progressive like crazy. So, because
Yeah, so for all
yeah.
you progressive haters, fuck you. It's still around. It's still alive. Fuck yourselves.
Yeah, no, it's and then what's cool though is, like, there's definitely a distinct sound between like the European progressive house scene and like the American progressive house scene. If you think of artists like Audion, he's I don't know if he's from Michigan, or I know he's from the States, but
Yeah,
if you
he's a
listen
States
to
guy. Yeah.
yeah, if you listen to his kind of progressive house style of music, the drops are more like chord based rather than like a melody. The melody is kind of just like, helping out those chords, whereas the European progressive house side of things, it's like the melody is the main thing, and the chords are like supporting the melody. So that right there, there's already subgenres of progressive house that can appeal to anyone.
Yeah, yeah, no, those are big guys. Do you have an artist that you listen to in EDM, or a couple artists that really inspire you when you're producing?
um yeah, during so once I so back in the day, obviously, rest in peace to the legend Avicii. His melodies were just on another level, and there was these guys on Revealed, Paris and Simo. They made a lot of progressive stuff in the early like 2013, 2014 days, and their stuff back in the day, like, I loved all that stuff. Obviously, Alesso's older music is great, but currently, some of my bigger inspirations right now are Black Code. He's killing it. Jack and Harry, they're doing great things. Severman, even though is considered a underground artist, I think that dude's huge.
Oh yeah,
He's killing
he's a
it.
talented motherfucker. No,
I
for
love his
sure.
stuff. Like, it's always great when I send him a song to get mixed and mastered, and like when he gives it a seal of approval before he even mixes it, when he's like, "Hey, this is a great idea." I'm like, "Thank you, man. Like, thanks."
Dude, when's the Severman Franny J collab gonna happen?
I don't
We're
know.
we're wa- we're, we're asking for this. Let them
he,
know.
he's
The
a
people
busy
are asking
dude.
for this.
He's a busy dude, but if I ever make something where I feel like he could hop on, I'll definitely send it over to him and see what he says. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I mean, Black Code, Jack and Harry, Severman. Um, I'd say, yeah, like those are like the top three right now that really have been inspiring me in the progressive scene.
So, Franny, what is next for you with your musical journey? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Um, so personally, I would love to play a few more shows, in my local area. it's kind of tough because of the fact that a lot of people don't really know the genre, or it's one of those things where I've noticed, because there used to be these DJ contests to have a shot at opening up one of the local festivals here, and I entered those for like 4 or 5 years in a row and never got selected as like. So the way it works is they pick 10 finalists, and then those 10 finalists perform at a venue, and then someone, one winner, or I think it's two or three winners, end up opening up for different stages at these local festivals. But I've entered 4 or 5 years in a row, and at one point I just decided to stop because I was like, nothing nothing I do is like, getting picked, so it's like whatever. I just want to focus on making music now. But in the beginning, I was just trying so hard to get shows, and my thinking at the time was, the more I make music, eventually, you know, I'll be at a point where now I think it's time I have enough music that I've released out of my catalog that I can play out live and see if it works or not. So far, I've only played two shows, and that's one of my goals this year, is to try to play maybe two more before the end of the year. And as far as releases go, I mean, I have plenty of stuff in the works, plenty of work in progresses, a lot of songs that are like so close to being done that I just need to send off to get mixed and mastered. One of them that I'm really excited for is my collab with you, Young Ty.
Yeah, yeah, me
It is a
too.
big room collab, and should we get into
Whoa,
like how
whoa.
should we get
Hold
into how
on.
that collab started?
Breaking news here. I have not heard this. I haven't heard this fucking story. Wait, you guys have a collab together?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, tell. Dude, tell.
I'll start off with saying I was making a melody in FL Studio, by the way, and it sounded like it sounded progressive sounding. So Franny's our progressive guy. Sent it to him, and yeah, Franny would take it away.
So yeah, he sends me this like toaster definition video of some melody playing, and I was like, I can't really hear it. No, I was just kidding, but no.
Well,
So
it
he
was
sends
made
me.
in FL. That's because it was made in FL. But that's neither here nor there. If the idea is good, though, you can work with it.
Yeah. So he sends me this melody, and it was just he just had it was like a pluck sounding melody, and I just kept listening to it. It was just an 8-bar melody that he sent, right? And I just kept listening to it, and I was like, this is actually a really catchy melody. And I hit him up again. I was like, yo, Ty, send me the MIDI like for this. And he does. And then like later on that day, I was just like, hey, what do you think of this? I made a whole ass break with that melody. And I was just like, what do you think of this? And he's just like, oh, that's really sick. And then I was like, all right, we're gonna collab on this now. Like I just like forced myself onto this song. Yeah, that was a funny thing.
I'm the captain now. Okay,
Exactly.
I'm taking over.
Look at me.
No, but that's fantastic, man, and I like to hear that. Where are you at with that, man? Like how what's the completion percentage of this thing?
I'd say like 95. It's like it's already being
it's home.
yeah, it's already being mixed and mastered. It's on its third revision right now, so we're just like fine tuning like the small details right now, and we got a vocalist from Fiverr. Yeah.
Oh, fuck
And
me, aren't I?
yeah,
Fiverr.
he's this Austrian guy. Yeah, like he has no social media or anything, but he has a few releases on Spotify, and like this guy's talented. His name's Thomas Penninger, if I remember correctly. And I've talked to him already a few times. I was just like, hey, you should maybe make an Instagram, because this song's gonna be a hit. I have a good feeling about it, so people are gonna want to reach out to you and stuff. And he just replied with like saying like he's already super busy with this Fiverr stuff. He's like, I don't think I can handle like more attention from like Instagram. I was like, no, I totally get it, to each their own. But I was like, just something to keep in mind. But yeah, no, that song essentially, we started working on the break, and I think the key was D sharp minor or something.
Yeah, it was D sharp.
And
Nice.
so
Very nice.
I have a project in Ableton that just has a bunch of unused melodies that I've made over the years, and I just happened to have a melody that was in the same key, And originally, like Ty said, it was a very progressive house kind of break. But then I couldn't really, the more I kept listening to it, I was like, I kind of want to go into a big room drop direction with this one. And it had somewhat of like a rock vibe too. And that's why we reached out to this vocalist, because he has like this specific sound with his vocal that just fit perfectly. And this big room drop that I had, it was an idea from like 2018, I think, and I just kind of reworked it a bit, dropped it in, sent it to Ty. I was like, "What do you think of this?" He liked it, and I was like, "All right, now it's time to like get the polishing done, adding all the ear candy, adding all the extra elements back in in the background and all that kind of stuff." But yeah, once we got a final arrangement, we sent it off to Severman. He mixing and mastering. Uh, like I said, we just sent it back for a third revision. So hopefully within a week or two we get the final product. And after getting some feedback here and there, we'll finally start sending it to some labels.
Wait, is this the song? I think I've heard this song. Ty, was this the song that you sent me and I said Tristan likes it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's the best. That's all you need right there. That's signed. That's a done deal, man.
Tristan approved.
If my kid likes it, it's gonna be good. And this dude doesn't lie to me, so this is gonna be a good song. Okay,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
I have heard. Yeah. I have.
Yeah,
heard
no,
this.
I'm excited. I'm excited for that one.
Same here.
It's gonna be sick.
And it's not just a progressive tune. It's got some guts to it. It's got some big room vibes. No, that's
Yeah,
great, man.
I would definitely say it is like more of a follow up to Never Turning Back, because it's the same leads, kind of same vibe. The arrangement is essentially the same. If you notice with Never Turning Back, it's intro, build up, drop, and then it goes into the break, and then it goes into the build up, drop. Whereas most progressive house songs have two breaks with vocals, and this one just has a single break with vocals. And I feel like a lot of big room doesn't really do that. They don't really and if they do incorporate vocals, it's normally like vocal chops or like a small repeating phrase or something. But one of my recent favorite big room tracks is actually by Taihei, that Eve 5 track.
Yeah, that's a good tune.
Is it Eve 5 or no? 0 Day. 0 Day is the one. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
0
good
Day
one
is the
too.
latest one. I mean, they're both great. Yeah, phenomenal. But 0 Day has the two breaks with the vocals, and it repeats the same thing, but or does it? I don't even know if it does. But regardless, like he kind of took that progressive house formula, but made a big room song out of it, and I thought that was kind of cool because you don't really see that too often.
Yeah, he was creative with his build up on that. Now that's another
Yeah,
talented guy that we've talked to him before, and
yeah,
he's
Taihei's. Yeah, I was
he's
so
done a
happy
lot
that I
for him.
got to meet him in Miami. Yeah, super cool dude. Super cool dude.
Well, good man. What? Okay, so what else? Okay, this is something I like to ask artists. Looking ahead here, we're close to the halfway point of the year. All right. What goals wise, what are you looking to achieve? Before this year ends, what's on your docket?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I would love to play two shows, honestly, before the end of the year. That would be awesome. But as far as like the production side of it, I have a lot of stuff in the works, like I mentioned. Nothing signed yet. But if I could release maybe 5 more songs before the year's over, um, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to come out this year, but just signing 5 songs
Right. That
this
fuck,
year.
man. That's a pretty aggressive.
I
That's a
think
pretty aggressive goal list. I like it.
I think I could do 5 just because I know I have like one, two, I have 3 that are like essentially done, including the one with Young Tai, and I know I have like at least 5 other like IDs that are super close to being done. So
So when you talk about getting it signed, do you have like a goal? I mean, I know obviously Maximize, Rave Culture, the big guys. Do you have that like label that you've been trying to get on and it's like, hey, I really want to sign something here?
so I'll tell you straight up, for me, everything I make goes directly to Revealed all the time, just because you never know. Because recently I did have a song, and I'm actually having trouble getting this one signed at the moment. But it was a progressive house song. Sent it to Revealed, and normally when I send demos to Revealed, I just get an immediate like after a day or two, it just says like, "Oh, the team wasn't interested." And it's become so normal to me that anytime I see a reply from Revealed, I'm like, I don't even open it because it's going to say they rejected it. And then on this latest one, I opened it and it said like the team is interested in your demo. I was just like, oh, okay, that's different. And a few days went by, and then the status of the song changed to final round. And at that point, I was like, damn, at this point, it's like a 50-50. They either like it or they don't. And so the fact that it reached Revealed's final round, but ultimately it did get rejected, but the fact that it reached Revealed's final round really does tell me that I have a solid track here, you know? Because like I mentioned before, a lot of times I'll send something and it just immediately gets rejected. And so anytime I finish a song, it always goes to Revealed first. I used to pay for the pro membership where they would give you feedback, and so I would use that feedback because like that feedback is honestly great. But I think I'm at a point where I've made enough connections with other producers that I can get that feedback without having to pay for it now. So that's why I kind of ended my pro subscription with them. But for up and coming producers that don't really have that circle, their service really is, I would recommend it because their feedback is actually very detailed, and like they tell you, like they'll even tell you like, hey, I see you have this kind of like ear candy sound, but like honestly you don't even need it. Like just get rid of it and maybe add this instead or something. Like they really help with the intricate stuff.
Who was your feedback guy? Who sent you feedback? Was it Sueño?
Um, I don't remember who it used to be. It used to be. Yeah, no, it's Suyano, right? It used to be him, but I don't know if he's still part of the Reveal team or not. But
He was good. I
but he was
remember.
good. Yeah, he was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. No, I agree though. I think getting that feedback and kind of having that support is key. I like take a moment and apologize to everyone who's ever asked me for feedback. I know I gave you the absolute fucking worst. Um, no, because I'm either like, hey, yeah, I like it or I don't. I'm very simplistic, but I've sent you stuff before somewhat recently with a collab of mine. And yeah, your feedback was just gold, dude. That you're like at
I
45
appreciate that.
seconds, you got to do this. We need some percussions at this part. And so, find that circle of friends, find that
Yeah,
network
totally.
because that's so key to advance your career.
Because like when I first started making music, the only feedback that I got was from like friends, right, that aren't making this music. So I'll show them something and they think it's cool that I'm making music. So they're like, yo, this sounds sick. But like in reality, it's like the worst thing ever. So like they're just hyping up trash. And I'm just like, wow, dude, you guys suck back in the day. So at one point you got to stop showing your friends music because ultimately they're your friends and everything, but part of them don't really care or really understand the technical side of it, right? So
do we do we have a feedback section, Ty, in our Discord area? Do you
Yeah,
got
we
something
do.
like that? Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should probably look at that, huh? I should probably know. I should probably show up. I'm going to show up more at the Discord. I'm back. I'm healthy again, somewhat. But yeah, no, you're right. If you can get that from non-friends, non-wives, non-girlfriends, whomever, uh, that's key because I
no,
think
yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
That's a good tip and all that too. So speaking of tips and tricks, do you have any for these up and comers that we can segue into?
yeah, man. Let's pick your brain a little bit here.
Tips and tricks. I mean, the biggest thing I see nowadays is, compared to like when I was coming up, is there's so many resources out there now on YouTube, like for free, for any genre. Back in the day, if I wanted to learn how to make a specific genre, like those tutorials did not exist. And the biggest advice I have for people is just, spend some time watching these tutorials. Like they might seem tedious at first, but like in the long run, you'll thank yourself. Like I still watch some of these tutorials and like I'm learning something new every single day. And as far as I think is the biggest thing I see with up and coming producers is they struggle with sound selection because that's something that can't really be taught. It just clicks one day for people, And I've watched so many tutorials on lead layering and stuff, and sometimes like I still struggle with it. But I think um, focus. I'd say like take an hour a day, open up just some synths, some VSTs, and just try out like just make one synth like your main sound, and then just kind of like add on to that, and just spend an hour experimenting with different types of leads. And I think at that point, after spending an hour for like, let's say you do it for a week or two, I think you'll have a better understanding of what good sound selection is. Because, like I said, you can't teach sound selection. That just comes naturally after a while. Because you could have the coolest melody, but then if your leads sound like some Atari video game, like yeah, it's not gonna work. But
You need to get the right sounds that are going to be cohesive with each other.
yeah, and then like I've gotten some emails from people, up and coming producers asking for feedback, and I'm always happy to give feedback because that's something that I didn't really get when I was coming up. And I'll even go into like, I'll ask them, I'm like, hey, do you use Silent One? Do you use Serum? Do you use Spire? And I'll just like go into like some bank and just like export a few presets and be like, here, I feel like I can hear these kinds of sounds, like try them out or something. If they help, that's awesome. If they don't, well, you got some free presets, like 2 or 3 of them that could sound good.
God,
So
you're
like
doing God's work out there.
I
Jeez.
just, I don't know, because there's a lot of potential, and it's just finding the right sounds with a lot of these up and coming producers.
So, Franny J, plug us with some of your socials and what you got going on here in the future, man.
Let's see. Well, I don't know when this is coming out officially, but I have a release coming out May 6th with Lindsay Gress.
Oh shit!
Um,
Congratulations.
find me on
Can you tell us the
Spotify.
label? Can you tell us
Um,
the label?
so it's coming out. It's a copyright free label. I think it's pronounced like Jupiter, but like it doesn't have the er at the end. It's just like Jupiter. But like they're Severman actually recommended it to me because this song that I'm releasing is actually it's a cover. It's a progressive house cover of a Celine Dion song. So I had no idea how we could, because I was just gonna give it away on like SoundCloud or something, but I figured if there's a way to do it through Spotify, might as well like do some research. And Severman said like he's released on this label as well a few times, and so it's a copyright free label for content creators. They can use these songs freely in their videos, so they don't get their copyright strikes and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's coming out on Jupiter Music, I believe, Jupiter.
Sick.
But
Congratulations, Celine Dion. I haven't heard that name in a while.
yeah, so yeah, I didn't even know that she still made music, and this specific song came out in 2019. And Lindsay approached me with the idea because she was listening to it, and she was just like, "Hey, the original one's at like 120 BPM, and I mean, all progressive house stuff is at 128."
Yeah, it's
And
in the neighborhood.
yeah, so I was listening to it, and it's very EDM-y, like the original one, but it was lacking some like energy in my opinion. And then the melody itself, I felt like I was kind of inspired by like the 90s Euro pop kind of stuff, like very repetitive but like catchy melodies. Um, 'Cause like after like I laid down the melody, I was just like, this sounds very like Euro poppy, like this, and then I kind of like made it fit a little more into that. And I don't know, I'm excited for this one. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm on Spotify, Franny J. Instagram is at Franny J underscore, I believe. Let me double check. I don't even know my
Fran, you
social
gotta know
Yeah,
your
media.
it
fucking
is. It
handle,
is.
man.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm like the first one that pops up if you just type in Franny J.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, see, Franny J underscore.
No, yeah, and look, listen, I know we're wrapping it up here. I appreciate you coming on.
Me too, man.
It was insightful. I know we've talked about having you come on for a little bit. And yeah, like you said, sharing your stories at Ultra and some of your process on how you start, as far as production goes and how you work around it. I thought it was really insightful today, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for inviting me. It's been a long time coming.
Well, guys, I think that's it for another episode of Voices of the Underground. I want to give a big special thank you to our guest for this episode, Franny J. Like you said, you could go and follow him on Instagram at Franny J underscore. And my co-host Robert Go, you could go and follow him on Instagram at Robert Go, and you can follow myself at Young Ty on Instagram. And like we've talked about before, we have a Discord channel. The link is going to be in the description. Voices of the Underground, and we'll see you guys on another episode of Voices of the Underground. Thanks, guys.